Have you ever felt that the more you try to change your life, the more life seems to resist? You set out to create more prosperity, and suddenly unexpected expenses appear. You seek a healthy relationship, and suddenly you face rejection patterns that seem to be left behind. You decide to take better care of your health, and your body seems to present new and complex challenges. This is one of the most frustrating paradoxes of the human experience. The feeling that the more you move forward, the more reality pulls you back. This apparent obstacle is not a sign of failure. It's not divine punishment, nor proof that you don't deserve what you want. In fact, the resistance you feel is the exact proof that your transformation has already begun. There is a universal law operating behind every change, a protocol as precise and infallible as gravity, but one that most of us interpret incorrectly. But to understand this law, first we need to uncover the true nature of reality. Most people live with the conviction that reality is a fixed, independent scenario, with events, people, and circumstances that simply happen on the outside. They believe that life is a series of reactions to an external world, where success is a matter of luck or relentless effort. However, this is the first and most fundamental illusion we need to dismantle. The truth, validated by ancient spiritual traditions and now by discoveries in quantum physics, is that external reality has no independent existence. It is not out there waiting to be discovered. It is, in fact, an exact projection of what is in here. In other words, reality is a mirror, an ecosystem that responds with absolute precision to your consciousness. This means the world you perceive and experience is not a random place, but a manifestation of your deepest beliefs. Think of your consciousness as a field of energy carrying a unique vibrational code. Every sustained thought, every dominant emotion, and every assumption you hold in your subconscious acts as an instruction to the universe. Reality, then, functions like an infinitely powerful information processor that does not judge or question. It simply reorganizes the particles of existence to match exactly your inner code. If your code says, "Life is hard," the universe will reorganize events so that you encounter difficulty. This understanding completely changes the game because it forces us to abandon the idea that we are victims of circumstances. The central thesis of manifestation, therefore, is not about attracting what you want, but about manifesting what you are. Attraction implies a search, a chase for something outside yourself. It is the mindset of someone trying to fill a void. Manifestation, on the other hand, is the process of becoming the person who already lives in that reality. This means you don't attract prosperity. You become the prosperous person, and prosperity materializes around you as a natural consequence. In other words, reality only reflects the image you have already built internally. Think for a moment of a person who, deep down, believes they are not worthy of success. No matter how hard they work, plan, or strive, the universe will continue to present obstacles that validate their subconscious belief. That's why many people may have talent, opportunities, and even temporary luck, but cannot sustain success, because they receive something for which they don't have the infrastructure to support. And in this case, the universe is not being cruel, but simply faithful to their deepest command. It cannot deliver prosperity to someone whose essence vibrates at the frequency of scarcity. After all, external reality is a consequence, never the cause. And here lies the revelation that flips all conventional logic. Life is not a stage where we perform for a world that already exists. It is your inner world being projected onto an external stage, where every person, every event, and every circumstance is literally your consciousness materialized. The key to transformation, therefore, is not to manipulate the external world, but to purify the inner mirror, where the essence of our identity lies. And this central identity has a name which, when understood, reveals itself as the most powerful creative force that exists, the I Am. Reality is not just a mirror of your consciousness. It is the materialization of something much deeper, your creative essence, the substance of the I Am. This is not a mystical phrase or abstract concept, but the origin point of all manifestation. It is the foundation of your identity, the unchanging center that precedes and commands all external experiences. Before being rich or poor, healthy or sick, successful or failed, you simply are. And it is this purity, this primordial awareness of being, that has the power to shape your entire world. It is the core from which everything else expands and defines itself, acting as the fixed point of reference. Think of the I Am as the very stage of your existence. The sets, your financial reality, your relationships, your health, can change drastically, and the characters, the people in your life, can come and go, but the stage itself remains the same. The I Am is your most fundamental identity, the 0 point of your consciousness. It is from this unchanging center that all statements and affirmations about your world are made. When you affirm something, whether you say, "I am poor," or "I am rich," you are not just describing your current situation. You are, in fact, adding attributes to your essence, and it is this declaration that the universe hears and to which it responds. Causality, in this sense, is entirely internal. The universe does not respond to requests, pleas, or desperate actions. It responds exclusively and relentlessly to crystallized states of consciousness. The main point here is to understand that it doesn't matter what you want, but what you are. When you, in your innermost self, assume the state of being prosperous, even if external reality shows the opposite, you are activating a powerful command. You are invoking the substance of the I Am to manifest this new reality, and from that moment, the invisible gears of the universe begin to move so that this new identity is validated. This explains why visualization without the genuine feeling of the fulfilled desire often fails. The conscious mind may try to program a new reality, but if the subconscious, the dwelling place of the I Am, is still operating from a belief of scarcity or unworthiness, the subconscious command will always take priority. To the deep mind, an experience intensely felt and imagined is as real as a physical experience. You are literally creating your reality at the most fundamental level, with every I Am you assume as true, whether consciously or not. Your reality is the materialization of your being. So, the challenge of transformation is not to fight against external circumstances, but to take full responsibility for your state of being. After all, your reality is not waiting to be discovered. It is waiting to be commanded, and the only command tool you possess is your own central identity. And once you understand that the universe has no choice but to obey this command, the next natural question is, what exactly makes reality submit and bend to your states of consciousness? Once you assume a new identity, once you change your state of being, the universe has no choice but to obey. What happens next is the operation of a universal law as precise and infallible as the law of gravity. We can understand this dynamic as a principle of reflection, where the universe itself reflects your inner state. The nature of the universe is not that of a judge deciding your destiny based on merit or time. Instead, it responds to the command you emit from your state of being and executes it with a perfection that can be described as mathematical. Reality, in its essence, is in total sync with your consciousness, and its only function is to faithfully manifest what your essence vibrates. The universe operates through a principle called the law of least action. In physics, this principle determines the path of least resistance that light, electricity, and even planets follow. In the world of consciousness, it manifests as the path reality must follow to align with your new assumption. When you genuinely assume a new state of being, the universe automatically reorganizes everything to reflect this change. It doesn't need effort, struggle, or linear time to begin realigning. The moment your consciousness moves to a new state, the universe immediately begins the process of realignment, moving the pieces in your life so that the external world becomes a perfect reflection of your internal world. This reorganization is a literal process. Every person, every object, every circumstance in your life is, in fact, your consciousness crystallized in form. So, when you change your state of being, you are literally informing the quantum field that reality needs to restructure. It's as if you were sending a new manifestation instruction. And the universe, like an infinite server, receives this instruction and begins reorganizing all the particles of existence so they match exactly your new frequency. It starts deleting what no longer aligns with your new identity and installing new experiences, new people, and new opportunities that validate it. But it's crucial to understand that this process is entirely neutral. The universe has no preferences. If your command is, "I am a victim of scarcity," it will organize your finances so you experience scarcity. In the same way, if your command is, "I am worthy of love," it will organize relationships so you find love. This law, then, operates technically and coldly, without judging whether the belief is limiting or empowering. Reality simply responds to the content of your consciousness, with perfect, flawless correspondence. This is why persistence in a state of being, even if external reality doesn't confirm it right away, is the form of transformation that truly works. So, your reality is not waiting for your command to decide whether or not to submit. Your reality already is submission. It is an exact and immediate reflection of what you are. The question, then, is not whether the universe will obey, but what happens when the new identity, already commanding a new reality, comes into conflict with the old identity that still clings to the past and resists its own extinction. This is the true battle that precedes your transformation. If your consciousness is the commander and reality is what obeys, why isn't the transition always immediate? Well, the answer lies in one of the most misunderstood and feared aspects of the transformation journey: the need for a complete dissolution of the old identity. This is what we call the ego death protocol. The new reality you are assuming cannot structurally coexist with the old identity that created it. Think of your mind as a computer. To run a new and powerful software, you must uninstall the old operating system, which is already corrupted and outdated. The old identity becomes, paradoxically, the main obstacle to your own evolution. The ego is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a psychological construction that served a purpose. It is the identity you built based on your past experiences, with traumas, successes, failures, and the limits life imposed on you. This construction has sophisticated defense mechanisms whose only function is to ensure your survival and preserve familiarity. And when you decide to assume a new state of being, you are essentially declaring war, not against external forces, but against this inner structure you have spent your entire life building. And the ego, in turn, feels the existential threat of its own extinction and mobilizes its entire defensive arsenal. This rebellion of the old self is what most people mistakenly interpret as a sign of failure. It manifests through the resurfacing of old fears, the increase of anxiety, and the creation of dramas that confirm the identity you are trying to transcend. The person who decides to free themselves from scarcity may suddenly face an unexpected financial loss. The one who seeks a healthy relationship may see old toxic partners reappear or have an intense fight with someone close. These are not accidents. They are the strategies of the old self to prove that transformation is dangerous and that the comfort of the known, even if painful, is the only real safety. The intensity of this inner battle is directly proportional to the magnitude of the change you seek. A small alteration in your routine may generate subtle resistance, but a radical transformation, such as moving from generational poverty to abundance or healing a chronic illness, will provoke what may feel like a complete collapse of your known reality. The drama, the chaos, and the apparent setbacks are the demolition protocol itself in action. They are the proof that the demolition of the old structure has already begun, and that your new identity is penetrating deep layers, threatening the foundations of the old self. Understanding this is extremely important because it is in this battlefield that most people give up, interpreting resistance as a sign to turn back. But what happens in this transition period between the inner command and the outer manifestation is what separates those who only wish from those who truly become. Between the moment you assume a new state of being and the physical manifestation of that reality, there is an inevitable period of transition. This is the so-called bridge of dissonance. This bridge is not a void, nor a time of passive waiting. It is an active and vibrant space, full of events, circumstances, and yes, challenges that, at first glance, seem to contradict exactly what you are trying to manifest. It is the moment when your new belief clashes with an external reality that still reflects the past. It is a period of conflict, and the way you cross it defines your success. The reason for this bridge is the cognitive dissonance that is created. When your mind assumes a state of being that doesn't match your physical reality, the universe, by its nature of seeking coherence, must resolve this conflict. But it does not resolve it by instantly changing external circumstances. First, it tests the authenticity of your new assumption. If you say, "I am healthy," but internally still cling to beliefs about weakness or illness, reality will present symptoms to check at what level your new identity has truly been accepted. So the bridge serves as a calibration field, where your new frequency is tested under pressure. During this crossing, the circumstances that arise are not signs of failure or divine punishment, but systematic authenticity checks. The universe must ensure that your change was not just a superficial desire of the ego, trying to manipulate circumstances. It must know if your transformation has gone beyond the surface of the conscious mind and taken root in the depths of the subconscious. That's why, when you seek love, reconciliations with exes or family crises may appear. And when you seek abundance, scarcity may temporarily intensify. Many people fail exactly at this point. When faced with the first external contradiction, like a financial loss, an unexpected argument, or a symptom returning, they abandon the new identity and revert to the old state of being, interpreting the difficulty as proof that transformation was impossible. And the universe, in turn, interprets this return as a command to maintain the current reality, reinforcing the cycle of frustration. Understanding this bridge is the key to mastery. Instead of fighting against a reality that seems to be falling apart, you learn to surrender to the process, knowing that every apparent obstacle is a necessary step. But to cross it successfully, you need to learn to decode the true nature of these challenges so you can turn each obstacle into a stepping stone for your next level of evolution. This is where the universal proof mechanism comes in. The tests that arise on this path are not obstacles placed to punish you, but necessary calibrations activated by your own consciousness. The universe is not checking whether you deserve what you want. It is checking whether you have become the person who would naturally already have what you are seeking. It's as if, before giving you the keys to an airplane, life puts you in a flight simulator with all the turbulence to make sure you know how to handle it under pressure. Reality, in its most wise form, ensures that your manifestation will be sustainable and not destructive. The mechanism works by confronting you with the exact opposite of your new belief. When you assume, "I am prosperous," the financial test arises to see if your security lies in your inner state or if it still depends on what shows up in your bank account. Each test is a verification probing whether your transformation has penetrated beyond the surface layers of the conscious mind and taken root in the depths of your subconscious. The universe acts as an unyielding mirror, showing that for your new reality to solidify, you must deal with the contradictions that still exist within. In addition, the challenges that appear during the proof are a way for your own system to release old patterns. Many times, a problem that arises in the middle of the manifestation process is not a failure but the expulsion of an energetic pattern or limiting belief that was blocking your progress. A financial loss, for example, may be the release of a deeply rooted scarcity belief. A crisis in a relationship may be the opportunity to finally let go of a codependent pattern. The tests, therefore, are not just verifications. They are also the purification process, which removes what no longer serves in order to make space for what is coming. The greatest revelation about the proof mechanism is that it turns every obstacle into an opportunity. With every turbulence you navigate without reverting to old patterns, with every moment you sustain your new identity despite external evidence, you are literally building and strengthening new neural pathways in your brain. You are teaching your subconscious that the new reality is the new standard. And the intensity of these challenges is not random. It follows a precise mathematical law directly linked to the size of the transformation you are seeking. If you understand that the universe does not give you what you want, but what you are, it becomes clear that the proportion of what you are becoming determines the size of the proof you will have to face. The intensity of the test you face follows an inevitable law of proportionality, directly tied to the magnitude of the transformation you seek. If your new identity is only a small adjustment to your current reality, the proof that will arise will be equally small, tailor-made to validate that specific change. However, if your desire is a radical transformation, one that requires burning bridges and transcending entire life patterns, the proof will be just as radical. Therefore, the nature of your transformation determines the size of the foundation that must be rebuilt. For example, a smaller change like deciding to improve communication with a coworker may generate minor initial friction which, once overcome, strengthens the new dynamic. The resistance is subtle, just enough to confirm the authenticity of your intention. On the other hand, a medium-sized change, like changing careers, starting a new business, or seeking a completely different type of relationship, will generate proportional turbulence. You may encounter a series of no's, temporary financial difficulties, or criticism from your social circle. These tests are more intense but serve to check if your conviction is strong enough to sustain the new structure. And when the transformation is radical, when you decide to transcend generational poverty to create abundance, when you set out to heal a condition considered incurable, or when you completely break free from toxic family patterns, the universe activates a full demolition protocol. It is at this moment that you may see your life apparently falling apart. Old relationships may end, health may temporarily seem to worsen, and finances may collapse. In this case, chaos is not a sign that something is wrong, but proof that your foundation is being dug to its depths to support the new reality you are about to build. The intensity of the test only reflects the size of your courage to go beyond what was familiar. Because, after all, the manifestation journey is not about trying to convince the universe to give you something, but about becoming someone who already has what you desire. With every challenge you overcome, with every conscious choice you make, You are literally building your new identity step by step at the deepest level of your mind. If consciousness is the substance that shapes reality, the mind is the architect. Neuroscience, through the discovery of neuroplasticity, confirms that the brain is incredibly malleable, constantly rebuilding and reconnecting based on where you direct your attention and intention. This means that with every new state of being you assume, you are not just changing a belief. You are literally rewiring your brain, building new neural pathways that over time will become the pathways of your automatic behavior and consequently of your reality. This transformation, however, rarely happens all at once. It manifests through a process of small and cumulative interchanges. Every time you resist an old trigger, every time you choose a new thought instead of an old one, even for a second, you are forcing your neurons to fire in a new pattern. That repetition, that persistence, begins carving new pathways in your brain. And with every small victory, the brain releases a dose of dopamine, reinforcing and locking the mind into that new behavior. And so, you are literally becoming the new person, even if just one micro change at a time. That's why celebrating progress is so important. The mind doesn't distinguish between a big victory and a small one. Both are recorded as success, and both strengthen your new identity, making the desired behavior feel more and more natural and effortless. Neuroplasticity also explains the so-called lag time between intention and manifestation. External reality is the echo of your internal frequency, and it takes time for that echo to be heard and materialized. It is the gestation period needed for new neural connections to solidify and become the dominant pattern in your subconscious. Many people give up right here, interpreting the absence of immediate results as failure. But the universe is only waiting for your new neural architecture to be complete, because it will not manifest a reality for which you don't yet have the structure to sustain. With this understanding, the manifestation game changes completely, because you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the conscious architect of your own experience, which leads us to our next and decisive point. Throughout life, we are taught that events happen to us, that we are mere players in a game with fixed rules. But once the law of internal projection is understood, this entire narrative collapses. You realize that the tests, resistances, and frustrations were not imposed on you by an external force. They were, on a deeper level, a projection of your own consciousness, designed for your own protection. It's not about blaming yourself, but about reclaiming your power. At this point, the concept of victimization completely loses its meaning, because if reality is a mirror, there is nothing to blame on the outside. There is no bad luck, no unexpected events without a cause within you. The challenges we all face are manifestations of our own beliefs, fears, and limitations that needed to be seen to be transcended. This is not an accusation, but an act of radical empowerment. Because when we take full responsibility for our inner state, we stop being mere passengers and become the main architects of our lives. This new perspective also allows us to see the benevolent nature of the tests. They are not punishments, but the universe itself acting as a guardian. Think about it. If your subconscious mind is still operating from a scarcity paradigm and you suddenly receive $1 million, what happens? The vast majority of people who win the lottery lose everything within a few years because they don't have the inner identity to sustain such abundance. So the tests that arise on your journey are the universe, in its infinite wisdom, ensuring that you build the psychological and energetic structure needed for your manifestation to be sustainable. It won't give you a castle before you know how to build a foundation. The challenges are, therefore, a paradoxical gift. They force you to confront the parts of yourself that still resist change. These are the parts that cling to old narratives, past traumas, and limiting identities. The conflict you feel on the bridge of dissonance is your own soul fighting to free itself from your old self. When you pass through a test and remain firm in your new identity, you are declaring in an irrefutable way to the universe and to yourself, "I am unshakable. My identity is the rock upon which the new reality will be built." Because in the end, the journey of manifestation is not a quest to acquire, but a process of becoming. The universe is a partner that aligns with your evolution. And from the moment you see yourself as a co-creator and not as a victim, you stop fighting life and begin to flow with it, knowing that every apparent step backward is, in fact, part of the movement you yourself are directing. So once again, the universe, in its infinite wisdom, would never deliver to you a reality you don't yet have the structure to sustain. And this is where the hidden meaning of the test lies. You don't need to fight the world to prove your worth. With every test, you are only proving to yourself that your new identity is unshakable. What once felt like a battle against external forces was, in fact, a deep dialogue between the parts of you that wanted to evolve and the parts that feared that evolution. The fear of failing the test is actually the fear of having to let go of the old self, the identity you built through pain and limitation, which now fears freedom. The soul longs for expansion, but the ego still clings to the familiar, even when it's painful. And the tests are the invitation, the final opportunity for you to stop protecting yourself with what imprisons you and embrace the freedom of a new state of being. The true master is not the one without challenges, but the one who recognizes each challenge as a chance to refine and expand their own consciousness. The journey was never about finding yourself, but about recognizing who you have always been. You have always been the creative substance of the I Am, temporarily hypnotized by the illusion of separation and powerlessness. And resistance was the confirmation that your new reality is not an empty promise. It is already here. And now, knowing this, you can stop fighting life and start flowing with it, knowing that every movement, no matter how unexpected, is part of the process you yourself are directing. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with others so they can benefit from this message. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching and for joining me. Take care and see you soon.